Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for those who haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Your support is quite important for this channel. And I really appreciate each and every one of you who takes time to watch these videos and subscribe and share. In today's video, I'm just going to give some statistics in terms of information which is quite worrying, really. With Social Work England, the reason why I'm saying which is quite worrying is because if you look at the staff shortages within most local authorities, really, and if you also look at the statistics, it tells you where some of the challenges are in terms of why some local authorities may struggle to actually retain, or some local authorities may actually struggle to actually find qualified and registered social workers. Remember, I spoke in the last video about the fact that social work is a protected title. You need to be registered with Social Work England. You need to hold a requisite qualification, and you need to be registered with Social Work England for you to be able to practice and use the title of a social worker. One of the requirements for you to, in terms of you being a social worker, is for you to actually renew your registration each and every year with Social Work England. For those who are practicing in England, remember you register with Social Work England. So the statistics I'm going to give today is basically straight from Social Work England. If you go on their website, this information is there, but I thought I should put this in a video for to make easy reference to other people who may not necessarily have time to actually go through this information, really. So remember, for you to continue to practice, you need to have registered by the 30th of November at 11:59 p.m. That's the cutoff time for people to renew their registration. There are three things that you need to do when it comes to renewing your registration, really. First, there are three key steps which I'm going to be talking about in this video. Remember, I'm not talking on behalf of Social Work England. I'm just sharing information from my own, practice and from my own learning, and information which I think will be helpful to some social workers or somebody else who is considering, to enter the field of social work, really. So there are three things that you need to be doing each and every year. The registration window or the renewal window for social workers opens from the 1st of September at 12 o'clock midnight or 1 o'clock midnight, whatever time you want to put it, okay, but that's the 1st of September basically, up until 11:59 on the 30th of November. That's the window period of which you are required to have renewed your registration with Social Work England for you to continue to be practicing as a social worker. And if you are not, or if you haven't renewed the registration within that period, you cannot practice as a social worker. As a result, it can have a bearing to your earnings, because you can be stopped from working. You can be stopped, obviously, if you are stopped from practicing, you have been stopped from earning as well. So for all practicing social work in England, you must renew your registration annually between the 1st of September and the 30th of November. The cutoff time is 11:59 on the 30th of November each and every year. It doesn't change. It's constant. It's been constant for the number of years that I've been registered with Social Work England. Prior to Social Work England, there was HCPC for those who were practicing at that time. And prior to HCPC, we were registered with General Social Care Council. It was more or less basically the same in terms of requirements, really. But there are three key steps that you need to be taking. First is to submit your renewal application. What you need to do is to make sure that your employer's details are correct, your home address is correct, your details, your date of birth and everything else is correct, and then you submit that renewal application and give the intention that you want to renew your registration and you want to continue to practice as a social worker. The next step is to pay the registration fee, which is £90. However, some people can actually do it as a direct debit, where you pay £45 in 2 equal installments, or you just pay your £90 straight away and then that's it. Most employers, if you are employed as a permanent worker, most employers do reimburse this £90 once you are registered. But some employers don't. But most local authorities that I know of, they do reimburse the £90. If you're not reimbursed by employer, remember you can also claim it through HMRC as well. The third key step that you need to be taking is to record at least 2 CPD points, continuing professional development, including a peer reflection, recording that you need to be undertaking as well. So worryingly, there are some people who haven't managed to actually renew their registration this year as of 2024. at the close of play, 11:59 on the 30th of November. There's 2,198 social workers who were actually removed from the register. But the process of you being removed means that you have to reapply to be on the register. So there is another process that you need to be undertaking for you to be reapplying to be back on the register. But in terms of 2024, there is 2,198 social workers who were removed from the register for failing to meet the requirements of them renewing, their qualification, or renewing, or not their qualification, renewing the registration with Social Work England. Right. So of these 2,198, it might include people who have retired, who no longer need the qualification, who are no longer practicing. It might also include people who have moved abroad, who are no longer practicing in social work. It may also include people who are still practicing, but we have left it until the last minute, because the report from Social Work England is actually indicating that, I'll break it down as well in terms of the percentages of those who have left it until the last minute and who haven't managed to do everything as required by Social Work England and have then been deregistered by Social Work England. I'll also get into that. Right. However, 102,888 social workers have successfully renewed their registration, which represents 97.4% of those who were eligible to actually renew the registration, which is a good number. 97.4% is a good turnout, to be fair. This is slightly, up from 97.3% in 2023. So in 2023, only 97.3% managed to successfully renew the registration, whereas this year we are talking of 97.4%. So there's an increase of 0.1% from 2023 to 2024, really. So Social Work England is actually indicating that they have seen a continued trend for social workers who take action at the last day of registration. Because remember, when you log in, the system tells them that this person has only logged in at this time to actually do this. So they're able to tell what's going on when it comes to people renewing the registration. So they're actually indicating that social workers are continuing the trend of taking action at the last minute or at the last day of the registration. Remember, there are issues which happened even last year where the website kind of almost crashed because many people are actually logging in at the same time and trying to do the same thing at the same time, which is a testament to the need for you to be doing this well on time so that you don't run into those challenges, really. So the implications or the consequences of that is, if this website crashes or you can't do it, it means you get deregistered. It's not an excuse for you to say the website wasn't working, because they tell you we have given you enough time to actually be able to do this. So that's not an excuse at all. Of those people who were removed from the register this year, of the 2,198 social workers who have been removed from the registration, 78.2% of those failed to complete all 3 required actions. That's a huge number. That's a huge number. 78.2% didn't even bother to do any of those 3 key steps which I spoke about earlier on. They didn't bother to do key step number 1 in terms of, showing their intent to renew. They didn't do the step number 2 of paying the registration fee. They didn't do step number 3 of recording the CPDs. That's 78.2% of those people failed to complete all 3 required actions, while 7.5% were removed for not completing the CPD requirements. So 7.5% had shown the intention to renew the registration. That's tick, done. They'd paid the £90 required for you to renew your registration, tick, done, but they failed to record their CPD, or they had incomplete CPD recordings, and then they were deregistered because of that. They were removed from the register because of that. So this is quite key. So the most important thing, or the key learning one can take or derive from this, is that you are urged to spread your CPD recording throughout the year. Whenever you have completed a key piece of learning that you have done, please do record it or log it somewhere. There is K-Inform website which enables you to actually log all the CPD, CPD, learning undertaking that you have done throughout the year, and you are able to actually transfer that information to put it in your Social Work England, registration portfolio, really. So they are saying this year 165 social workers were removed for not meeting CPD requirements. 165 social workers, which is the 7.5% which I spoke about earlier on. 165 social workers were removed for not meeting CPD requirements, which is up from 119 from 2023. So last year it was only 119 who were removed for not meeting the CPD requirements, but this year we are talking of 165 social workers removed. That's upwards of more than 40 people who have been removed, from the figures which were given last year, for not meeting the CPD requirements. So one may ask, what steps have Social Work England taken to avoid this situation happening? To be fair, they've been sending emails almost on a weekly basis or almost on a monthly basis. From the beginning of the year, it was on a monthly basis. From around September, it was almost on a weekly basis. They were sending emails. And most employers, for me, my employer was sending emails on a weekly basis, which was coming from the chief executive themselves. Sending emails to remind colleagues to register or reminding colleagues to renew the registration with Social Work England. So this is the key steps that Social Work England has been taking. It's not to say people are not being reminded, but it's at the end of the day, the onus falls on you, the registrant, to be able to renew your registration as well. They've taken several steps, like I said earlier on, including sending emails, text messages, social media posts, which were there, online events. There were webinars that I've attended. I think I've attended a couple of them during the year, where they were talking about what you need to be doing for you to be renewing your registration. So that information was there. It was out there. People, if you didn't attend or if people didn't bother, that's up to you basically. On their website as well, information is there for you. If you want to dig deeper into how you can renew your registration, that information is actually there. So in terms of their website, they're actually saying their website was available 99.97%. So it was like almost all the time the website was available for for people to check in, to read information and so forth. The only maybe 0.3% which they are talking about would be the downside, which all websites needs to be looked at, all website needs to be updated, which is usually, which is customary for any employer or any local only local authority that of, or any organization for that matter. They do have a downtime of their website to make sure that they do update things, they will do update software and everything. So that was the only time when the website wasn't there, but the whole time the website was actually there, so you had all the time to actually do what you needed to do. So why do social workers need to be registered? I think the most basic answer which I can give to that is the register is the only primary way the public can be assured that they are accessing support from a social worker who is accredited or who is registered with Social Work England. And it also gives some assurance that they are dealing with somebody who is practicing in a safe and in a safe and the most effective way basically. And the bottom line is those social workers who fail to renew their registration or who no longer legally permitted to practice or use the title of social worker are not required to be using that title. So you can actually be arrested if you continue to use the title of social worker when you are no longer registered with Social Work England, or so you can still be a social worker if you're not registered. That's because you have got a qualification. But for you to be practicing as a social worker, you need to be registered with Social Work England. So the restoration applications will allow individuals to rejoin the register. Some of them, they've already applied to be restored onto the register, which may take, some time between 2 weeks to 3 months, sometimes up to 6 months, because it depends with the evidence that Social Work England will be asking you to actually submit as well. So, Social Work England is quite clear that it takes between 2 weeks from 2 weeks basically. I would say from 2 weeks, but sometimes it can take 20 days, sometimes it can take 6 weeks, sometimes it can take 6 months, because if you don't have the evidence that they want you to be submitting, then that delays the process, because you will still need to get that evidence, which may mean you need to attend some specific CPD learning undertakings that you may need to be taking for you to be able to register as a social worker. So with that information, I hope this has helped somebody and I hope this will be beneficial to someone. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Your support to this channel is quite important. As you can see, the channel is growing. If you can continue to grow the channel so that I'll be able to make time and actually bring this information to you. I know that some people may find it easier to get this information from a video rather than going on the website to be able to read all this information, where I'm bringing all this information in a synthesized manner. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell so that when I post, you'll be the first person to know. And thank you so much for watching.